The use of the internet has increased rapidly, and children and young people's use of the internet has also increased rapidly. Whilst there's huge advantages of internet use, there are some disadvantages which are causing concerns about children and young people's behaviours online. With us today we've got Dr. Emma Bond from the University Campus Suffolk, who has done extensive research about children and young people's behaviours in online environments. And I've invited Dr. Bond here today to talk to us a little bit about her work in terms of the content that people are posting online about themselves, but also accessing content online. I know Dr. Bond has been very instrumental in some of the work that she's been doing about anorexia and eating disorders online. So I wondered, Emma, if you could just tell us a little bit about your research and what you found out, and how, if there are some organisations that you can think about that might be able to help us to understand this phenomenon even more.
Well, I did the research last year, and there's been a lot of work done in Europe recently with Professor Sonia Livingston at the London School of Economics with the EU Kids Online project, which is about the most comprehensive piece of research we have to date about young people and risk to do with the internet. And what they found when they looked, and they interviewed 25,000 young people, was that about 12% of them had said that they had visited what's known as pro-anorexia websites. They'd also visited some pro-self-harm ones, and there were also some of the pro-suicide sites. Now, what that research highlighted was that young people are actually visiting these sites, but what they weren't able to follow up was actually what was on these sites, what they were about, and why young people were actually going to them. So that's what I endeavoured to do. So last year I was sponsored by the Nomnet Trust, and I looked online for this phenomenon known as pro-ana or pro-anorexia. And it was very interesting because actually I didn't do anything very clever. I typed it into Google to see what would happen, just as perhaps a 11, 12-year-old child might do. I wanted to see if these sites were hard to find, what they had, what were they offering, why did young people go there? So, as I said, I typed anorexia or pro-ana into Google to see what I could get. Now, what I found was that they're really easily available. You just type anorexia into Google and the top hits are actually pro-eating disorder sites. Now,
so not much in the way of support. The first sort of hits you get are actually how to do it. Now there are some very good recovery sites for eating disorder. People like Beat, they offer very comprehensive online support for people with an eating disorder. But most of the pro-eating disorder or the pro-anorexia websites have actually been set up by people who've got an eating disorder themselves. And what you have to remember when you're thinking about these sites is that having an eating disorder is a very serious mental illness, and how people, especially young people, perceive themselves when they have an eating disorder is very different to how you and I would see them. And what the sites are about, they're actually around maintaining and keeping their eating disorder rather than seeking recovery. So you can see the harm.
Now, for young people who have got an eating disorder, whether it's anorexia or bulimia, they are seeking to change their body image and to lose weight. And so the sites are offering what's known as tips and tricks. So how to further your weight loss, how also to hide the fact that you're losing weight from your family and from the medical profession. But also they offer what is known as thinspiration. So there are pictures on these sites. Some of them are of celebrities, actually no different to what you'd see in Vogue or Tatler. But others are of user-generated content. So these are girls who've taken pictures of themselves to show how much weight they've lost.
And they're sending them to the websites.
And they're sending them to the websites and to the forums. Now, if you think about it, if you want to show how much weight you've lost, you don't do it in a big baggy jumper and a pair of jeans. So they're putting images of themselves in their underwear.
Yes.
And quite often these images their bodies are very, very thin.
Yes.
Some of them actually you would describe as emaciated.
Yeah.
And these images are being used by others to motivate their own further weight loss. So in terms of the idea of a body image that they are seeking, it's known as disordered perfection. They are seeking what to them is perfection,
yes,
but to other people is way thinner than a normal body image. And in the sites, they are very, very competitive. So you will have girls posting, putting an image up of themselves or saying, I've lost 5 pounds this week. And somebody else will post and say, well, you don't look thin enough to me, or well done,
yes,
you have lost this, you've got to keep going. So they are supporting each other, but in a very negative way,
yes,
to maintain what is a very, very serious mental illness. Now, what I found on these sites was they're very beautiful, a lot of them, very pretty, very artistic. They have poems that they've written to Anna. Anorexia and bulimia and an eating disorder very, very much becomes part of young people's self-identity. It's a very important part of their lives. And so they write poems and creeds. They have almost a religious-like following sometimes. Some of the leaders of the website will post, I've been at home over Christmas, I've put on a lot of weight, I'm going to fast for 4 days. And so their followers will say, you're wonderful, I'm going to fast too. So instead of having one girl fasting for 5 days, I mean, I watched one, and just in 10 minutes she had 56 followers saying that they were going to fast as well.
Wow.
So what they're doing is there are online communities who are supporting each other in their pursuit of weightlessness and thinness, which goes beyond a healthy body, especially for young people, because they give each other advice on taking laxatives, on purging, swallowing salt water, and how they can further their weight loss, but in ways that actually potentially could be very, very dangerous.
Very harmful. So actually we've got something that's really easy to access.
It's very easy to access.
You were saying you just typed in a search on Google, so anybody can do that, and easily access material that's very motivating.
Yes.
And can quickly you can quickly become a follower of it.
I think what's important to remember is they're being displayed in the media as very evil, harmful environments. What we have to remember is that eating disorders, and when I worked in consultation with Beat, when I did the research, they said that, you know, having anorexia, having an eating disorder, you are hardwired for it. You will not catch an eating disorder by looking at these sites. But for the girls and the young people that are using them, who are already terribly vulnerable, that's where the danger comes in. And it's actually, I found, because they lack support and they lack understanding in their everyday lives, that these sites are actually offering something that they're not able to, because quite often, for young people with an eating disorder, they feel very isolated from their family and friends, they feel very misunderstood. And to go onto these sites with other like-minded people who understand them, who are also pursuing quite extreme weight loss quite often, they have found a community where they are accepted. And that is the key, really, to understanding these sites. But they are very much also linked with self-harm. Also with suicide, because when you think about having an eating disorder, if you haven't eaten for a number of days, well, imagine what that does to your mood, your level, your self-esteem. So for people with an eating disorder, they have very, very low self-esteem. Eating disorders are very much linked to anxiety and to depression. So we've got a very complex mix around the pro-eating disorder, also pro-self-harm, also feelings around suicide as well. So for young people who are feeling depressed, who are feeling low, if they have an eating disorder, these sites, these communities, whilst they offer support, it is a very negative, it's not a pro-recovery type support, which is what we would want young people to seek, is help towards recovery, not help towards maintaining the illness.
Absolutely, yeah. And you did say that there was some support groups online.
Yes, there's some very good, I mean, BEAT, who are based in Norwich, who are the National Association for Eating Disorders, are superb. They offer all sorts of different types of support, one of which is online, but they also offer other face-to-face support and counselling. But if anybody is worried about a young person with an eating disorder, I would suggest contacting BEAT. Also, of course, going to your GP, and talking to them. It's very, very important to try and seek help, and to seek help early, to try and get help for young people as soon as possible.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's really good advice, and I think also it's really interesting to have a background understanding of what's on the websites that children and young people are actually accessing. And I think, listening to Emma, in terms of young people's use of online environments, of course they're going to investigate, of course they're going to have a look and see what there is, but we have got those dangers there, that if you do have that sort of ideas that you do want to lose weight but actually maintain that very, very low body weight, I think there are those dangers that are inherent within those websites, and they can actually lead on to other things, as you've been saying.
I think what we really need to do, whether it's about anorexia or some of the other risks online, is really from a very early age talking to young people about developing very critical digital literacy skills, so they understand when they're looking at this celebrity, perhaps, that it's been photoshopped, it's been enhanced, that a normal healthy body doesn't actually look like this. So we encourage young people from a very young age not to believe everything actually that they read or that they see. Even if you look at print media, for example, around some of the celebrity fashion, they've been photoshopped. Their skin is immaculate. And for young people, I think issues around body image, how they appear, can be very, very challenging, because we have very much a sort of celebrity, almost perfect culture, but encouraging them actually to think, actually that has been changed, that has been enhanced. Normal bodies aren't like this.
They don't look like that. And is it a myth then, Emma, that it's girls only?
No, it's not just girls. There are increasingly numbers of boys who also have an eating disorder, although statistically they are lower in number. But there's a lot of bullying attached to having an eating disorder, and for boys especially as well. There was evidence of some young men using the sites, but predominantly, I have to say, they were very much a female environment, although there were some of the evidence of boys. But I think that's something that needs further research really and understanding.
Okay, well, thank you very much to Dr. Bond for speaking to us today. But don't forget, what she has said is there's a fantastic web presence by BEAT, who are based in Norfolk, and the advice is, if you are concerned, worried about a young person's behaviours online, then you really need to seek support. And along with this video, we will be supplying links on the Safe CIC website, and from a number of other websites that you can just click on, and you'll get much more information. Thanks very much.